Only thing unplugged is Forgotten Seasons.
Welcome back to Forgotten Seasons. Jelani, I know we love all of our guests and we do a lot of these. It's always good chopping it up with a former player, but you know, we love all of our guests, but sometimes when you're in the presence of a Hall of Famer, it just feels a little bit different. I would love it if you could kind of explain to our fans and whoever's listening or watching, who do we have the pleasure and the privilege of speaking to today?
Man, it would be my honor. We have none other than Mr. UTEP Two-Step himself, the original crossover man, a man of the culture. Can't explain how much he meant to the two young basketball players coming up in the early '90s. Hall of Famer, one of my favorite point guards of all time, Tim Hardaway.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the show, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
So today I want to gravitate towards the 1997 Heat because, when we watch the NBA today, you see it on the Heat's jersey. It says Heat culture. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that Heat culture started with guys like you, guys like Pat Riley, guys like Alonzo Mourning. And that 1997 team was the real boom of the Miami Heat. But before we get there, I think we got to kind of work backwards and understand how you got there and how that team formed. So where I want to start is 1989 when you enter the league. You're the 14th overall pick in the 1989 draft to the Warriors, and I think it's an interesting time in the league. We hear that Bird and Magic kind of quote unquote saved the NBA in the 80s, and then six expansion franchises are created between 1988 and 1995. The Heat, your future team, were one of them. But to me, and I would love to hear what you think, it felt like in the 80s, there were still, players flying on commercial flights and, maybe the money wasn't great. And Bird and Magic really laid the groundwork. But it seemed like when you entered the league in the late 80s and into the 90s, the NBA really took off. Your first team, Run TMC, became like a cultural movement beyond just the basketball court. It would be great if you could help us understand and maybe remember back to your earliest days in the NBA. Like, what was the state of the league when you arrived? And did you feel kind of the growth of the game happening in front of your eyes as you got further along into your career?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. Don Nelson, he drafted me, and I was supposed to go to Indiana in a lottery. I was supposed to go to Boston in a lottery. I could have went to the Chicago Bulls, but they picked B.J. Armstrong. Um, but I would say this: when I came into the NBA, it was very humbling. You know,
Mhm.
um, you think it was something else. You thought uh, it was all glorified and everything,
Mhm.
but it was totally different when you got there. Some teams, some players had to wash their own uniforms. Uh, you taking commercial flights. You waking up at 4 in the morning, taking a 6 a.m. commercial flight out. Um, we wasn't fortunate like the LA Lakers. They took
Mm.
it was back then MGM. They took MGM on flights, say like cross country or back to backs. But if it was in your area, you was taking commercial flight. If they was going to Golden State, they taking commercial flight. If they was going to Sacramento, they was taking commercial flight. If they was going to Phoenix, they was taking commercial flights, except on back to backs. So it was very humbling. Um, a lot of guys, it wasn't about the money, man. It was about the
Mm.
prestige of playing in the NBA. Taking commercial flights early in the morning at 6 a.m. And sometimes that commercial flight might be canceled. So you had
Mm.
to wait later on in the day, and then you had to play that night.
Is this when somebody next to you was like smoking a cigarette too, or were we past that?
PSA. That's PSA. It's like PSA Airlines. It's close, Dylan. I know
no,
you young,
no,
but it's close.
back then, people were smoking cigarettes
Mm-hmm.
on the airline. No question, you right about that. I forgot about that. Back then, it was all
Mm-hmm.
right. They had ashtrays.
Right in the little thing right
Right,
there,
right
right
there.
on the armrest.
Yes, an armrest. So yeah, you might have been smoking, sitting next to a smoker. So yeah, it was very humbling, and a lot of players that you know actually played in the NBA, worked on their craft each and every day. It
Mm.
was professionalism back then. And you and another thing, back then, if you got hurt, you was on the IR for 5 games. If you came back, if you was able to come back within those 5 games, you still had to sit out for 5 games, no matter what.
I forgot about that. You
No
right.
matter
You
what.
absolutely
So
right.
so when
Yep.
you so if I got an ankle sprain and I was out for 5 games, but I could come back game 3. Mm-mm,
Can't do it.
you can't do it. You out. You
Mm.
done.
You go ahead.
Yeah, you speaking of humility and humbling people working on their game. You're coming into Oakland, California at 19, late
89.
80s,
Yeah.
early 9. What for you from you're a Chi-Town representative. You're no stranger to the inner city.
No.
And I kind of feel like that's what you brought into the NBA before Allen Iverson. We'll get into that later, but what is what is Oakland, California like when you arrive there from UTEP? You go from Chicago to UTEP, you know what I mean? And now you end up in Oakland your rookie year. Can you give us like just a couple, a little bit of insight on what Oakland, California was like in 1989, early
Yeah.
90s?
Oakland, California is like Chicago, Illinois. Drugs, gangs, um, um, people just out there walking around at times like zombies, street hustlers. It
Mm-hmm.
was just like Chicago. Um, so I knew how to take care of myself in Oakland. I knew, you could tell off the rip who was who you didn't want to hang out with, who was bad, who wasn't bad. Oh, he got all the girls, he got all the ladies. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
he knows that. Just stuff. It was simpler.
How to
Um,
move around.
yeah, I knew how to move around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I got there, I was already playing against pros when I was in college. When I went back
Okay.
home during the summer, I'm playing against or with Ricky Green, against Maurice Cheeks, Doc Rivers, Isaiah
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, Michael Jordan, Terry
Mm-hmm.
Cummings, Craig Hodges. We had guys, we had pros that didn't make the pros, but knew how to play like pros. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And in Chicago, they just took we when you walk out there on that court, you know, it was all business. It was like, look, either I'm gonna bust your ass or you gonna bust my ass.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, either we gonna go at it, or you just gonna it's not your day, whatever it is. But you had when you laced them shoes up and you got on that 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 rectangle court or that court, you got to bring your shit or you get embarrassed each and every day. And that's what I brought to Oakland. Oakland was known for their toughness. The people there in Oakland know basketball. They go all the way back to Rick Barry, Al Adams, and those
Mm-hmm.
type of guys. They know they basketball. Will the Stilt Chamberlain. They know they basketball. Okay.
Even Bill Russell was
Yeah,
there in
yeah,
San Francisco.
yes,
He played in San Francisco. So
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So they
They
very
know they
well known. Yep.
basketball, so there
Yep.
wasn't not out there playing your best, you're gonna get booed, and they know,
Mm.
um, they knew who wasn't giving they all, and they'll boo you. We were sold out, even though we wasn't good my first year. We sold out because they loved the game of basketball. But when we started winning, we were selling out, and it was tickets all over the place, and it was a great atmosphere, like it is now with the
Hmm.
Golden State Warriors, or when they was winning championships. Oh my God, that was one of the best atmosphere that you could ever be in.
Well, it kind of happens quickly, right? So you said your first year you weren't that good, but this Run TMC thing happens very quickly. And by year two, you're upsetting the Spurs in the first round of the playoffs. You're playing the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs. And we're going to touch on kind of the back end of how that fell apart pretty quickly. But what is that like? I mean, it seems like in the flash of the eye, you're not only in the NBA, but you're part of this like pop culture national movement that
Hmm.
transcends basketball. And Jelani and I were talking before this, like, I think this was kind of a first of its time thing. You didn't really see like the music, the hip hop music enter the NBA until Run
Mm.
TMC. And you're right smack dab in the middle of it as the starting point guard. Like, just what is that like? Because it happened, it seemed like it happened pretty much like overnight.
First of all, that was a big mistake. We had Run DM.
Really?
We had Run. No, I'm talking about we had Run DMC
Hmm.
come out and announce us in front of the Los Angeles Lakers, in
Ooh,
front of Magic Johnson.
In the
Okay,
play, and then
in the
in the
playoffs,
90 in the
91,
91 playoffs.
91 playoffs. So as you know, and then we had, they had all the movie stars. We had all the rappers come.
mm-hmm.
E40, uh, uh, MC Hammer, uh,
Short.
Too Short, of course,
Yeah.
SWV. We had all In Vogue. We had all those
Mm-hmm.
people come in. And when Run DMC announced us, I kind of looked over there and peeked over there to what Magic was doing, and he had his guys in a huddle. I mean, a deep huddle, and I could imagine. But what I guess he told me is like they making a mockery out of this. They not
Mm-hmm.
serious about it. Man, he came out there and started whipping that ball around, and they started running up and down the court, throwing no look pass. You saw James Worthy dunking and Byron Scott making shots, and Divock rebounding, bringing up past the Magic, Mag throwing back. Man, it was a clinic. It was a
Mm-hmm.
clinic, and right then and there, we knew it was a big mistake to have that happen in front of Lakers. If we did it in front of San Antonio, we would have been cool. But the Lakers, Magic had that mindset. This is some BS. They're not gonna be doing us like this and thinking that they're gonna win. But yeah, the hip hop culture was, I mean, it was booming back then. And I mean, we had, in Oakland, they had some live rappers and singers, and we seen them all the time, not only at our games, at the A's games, at the
Mm-hmm.
Raiders games when the Raiders was there, or even San Francisco 49ers games. So it was live there, and you know, w- it was a perfect setup for us.
The Bay is cracking at this time. I was
Oh,
born in
cracking.
Oakland. I moved to San Diego in the fourth grade. I'm thinking you just hit it on the head. The A's are cracking. They
Hmm.
winning championships. San Francisco's cracking, winning
Both teams,
championships.
both teams.
Both teams, yeah, you know what I mean. The Raiders are doing the Raider thing, so
Yep.
it was a championship city, Tim.
Yes, yes.
They weren't playing. There was like it was like a title or nothing, and
Yeah,
then I feel like y'all came in with that new culture,
yeah.
new energy. As like Dylan said, I was talking about like when I was growing up in Oakland, it was like Michael Jordan was listening to the Commodores and Earth, Wind and Fire. When Tim got into the league, we started seeing Too Short, we started
Right.
seeing rappers, we started
Yes,
seeing De La Soul. The
yes.
music, the Nike commercials, another thing we'll get a hold to. But even as far as like inside the NBA and Ahmad
Right,
Rashad,
right,
he was leaning into hip hop and the,
right.
the the music in and out of the commercials with
Yes,
hip hop, and then it was like Run TMC.
exactly.
And then in the part of Run TMC, there was, Mitch the Rock, he was nice. There
Yes.
was obviously Muddy, but you were like the clutch. You know what I mean? Because you not only the skill set and the point guard, but you just brought a different set of just vibe coming from Chicago. You
Right.
know what I mean? So that's what I
Confidence.
saw on the outside. Confident. There it is. There
It's
it is.
confidence. I
There it is.
I brought the team confidence. When
Mm,
somebody, Chris and Mitch, uh, they didn't talk a lot, but I wasn't gonna let another team get hyped in front of us or start
mhm,
talking to us and chipping us. No, 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 no. Man, we not taking that. Yo, Mully, let's go, man. Let's go.
mhm,
Let's go 40 on him. He cannot stick you. Mitch, take him down low and bang him. You the rock. Let's do it. And that's what I
mhm,
brought to the team. I brought some liveness to the team. I brought some flavor to the team. I brought some confidence to the team. And they just went with it. When somebody started talking stuff, then I started, and my team just started right behind me. Like, okay, we're gonna take you. We're gonna come right behind you and take your lead, and you just take us to that next level. And that's what I did. Once
facts.
I came in, I had the crossover, a little flavor here, a little flavor there. You get the crowd in it. Sometimes we had the visiting crowd on our side too. They wanted to come see us
Mhm,
too. They heard
mhm,
about Run TMC. Hey, let's see what they got. And every time we
mm.
stepped out on that floor, we put on the show, and we had fun doing it. We had great teammates. Tom Tolbert, Jim Peterson, Judd Bushler. We had
mhm.
great teammates, man. That followed our lead and had fun with us.
So it happened. The birth of Run TMC happens in the blink of an eye, and then it seems like it went the other way just as quickly. So you mentioned that Lakers series, you lose in round two. That's fine. They decide to trade Mitch Richmond the following year or at that offseason. The story goes that Don Nelson said he felt pressure from ownership or management to maybe go bigger. So they bring in Billy Owens. You guys have another really good season right after that. But then after that, it starts to go downhill. You hurt your knee. The team drafts Chris Webber and gets him number one overall. So now you have Chris Webber, Latrell Sprewell, Chris Mullin, and Tim Hardaway. But the problem is that Tim Hardaway busted his knee. And busting your knee in the early 90s is a lot different than busting your knee now. Slower process, worse technology. But I wanted to ask you, 1993, 1994, you're out for the season, you hurt your knee, and you're watching this new guy, Chris Webber, probably one of the most ready-made rookies that entered the league in some time at that point. And just 2 years before, you were the guy and the city was on fire. Run TMC was all over the news, all over the TV. And now you're sort of like sitting from the sidelines watching Chris Webber. And I think it's probably complex because I would think that it's frustrating. Like, imagine if you were on the floor for that season, how far the team could have gone. But, I would think that mentally it isn't the best situation to be the guy. And then 2 years later, you got to watch your team, play really well without you out there. I mean, it's complex, but I would love to hear just what that time was like for you because, like I said, blink of an eye, Run TMC is born. Blink of an eye, it's gone, and you're on the sideline. You're out for a whole year. What was that like?
Don Nelson finally came out and said that he made a mistake by trading Mitch Richmond. He did. He did. And he did. That was the beginning to the end of Run TMC and the Golden State Warriors at that particular time in that era. You have a core there, and you fit around your core. All right, you fit around that core. You get some pieces, and I'm gonna tell you this: Alton Lister came there, and he was going to be our center, but he tore his ACL. Not his ACL. He tore his Achilles that year when we started to roll. He came there the 90-91 season. He tore his Achilles, and he never was the same. Like a defensive stopper, putting the ball in a basket, turn around jump shooter. That changed his whole game. So when we got Billy Owens, a lot of people wasn't feeling Billy Owens.
Why not? Because I played with Bo. Was it his personality or his game?
No, it wasn't nothing about his game, nothing about his personality. We had our set core. And our set core was Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin.
As it should be.
And it was successful too. It was going well.
Yeah, and we was the only thing you had to do was put pieces around us, and we would have made it work. If we had a center, because we was always short. If we had a center, who knows what we could have done with the Lakers?
Well, what about Chris Webber? I know a big man.
Well, no. I'm gonna say this: if we never would have traded Mitch, we never would have been in the Chris Webber sweepstakes. So after that happens, we get to Chris Webber sweepstakes, and Chris Webber, we traded Penny Hardaway because we drafted Penny Hardaway. We traded from swap for them, and we get Chris Webber. We was trying to get his contract together. The first day practice, they signed. He gets his contract all worked out. That's the first
huge contract.
Huge contract.
What was it, like a 7-year?
It was monumental. It was back. It started the whole CBA thing where they said y'all making too much money.
No. You know who did that? That was Big Dog in Milwaukee.
Facts.
He got 100 million. He got 100 million.
True.
Right. So that's what happened. Yep. So no, we was so we signed him. I go down with the ACL. If I was around, him and Don Nelson bumped heads. They was bumping, and I was never around because I was trying to get myself together. And Nelly was like, and Chris Mullin was like, yo, you need to start coming around. Chris Webber, he'll probably listen to you. But at that particular time, it was too late. Chris Webber was like, look, I'm not going to be listening to him. I'm just going to do my own thing. But what Don Nelson was trying to help Chris Webber realize is that you could be that type of ball player right now that you was in Sacramento. You can handle the ball. You could be point forward. You can start the offense. We could hit you at the elbow. You could pass. We want to use your strengths. And
Mm.
that's what Nelly saw. He saw his strengths as a rookie. He didn't like that. He wanted to get the ball down low, bag people in, and do other things. But Don
Mm-hmm.
Nelson saw his strengths, what he could do, like he was doing in Sacramento early.
Mm-hmm.
So they was bumping heads and everything. But if I was there, I could have settled uh, Chris Webber and made him understand, look, this is how we want you to play. This is how we need for you to play if all of us is going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And just like they did in Sacramento with Jason Williams, with and they whole crew. But
Peja,
Doug
the whole
Christie,
thing. Yep.
Vladi Divac, just playing. We could have played that same style his rookie year if I wasn't hurt. But I was hurt, and they bumped heads, and then and then that's when Nelly uh, got let go, and then we traded Chris Webber somewhere to Washington, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's when But we had Chris Gallen, we had Victor Alexander. We still had a good crew, but our nucleus wasn't together again.
How about Latrell Sprewell?
Oh,
What was that component of it like?
Latrell Sprewell came in, needed to work on his ball handling skills. He could shoot the ball a little bit. Need to work on that. But
Mm-hmm.
each and every year, we knew he could play defense. He was always in the pass lane, always quick, Alabama type of player, play defense in the passing lane. But he worked on his game, and each year he came back. You saw a different Latrell Sprewell. You
Mm-hmm.
saw a stronger Latrell Sprewell. You saw
Mm-hmm.
a more confident Latrell Sprewell. You saw a
Mm-hmm.
Sprewell that his jump shot, he was very sure of his jump shot. And
A
each
spree that would go left
yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes Spree that would go
Mm,
left. Sometimes he'd catch you off
sometimes.
guard
Mm-hmm.
and go left.
Mm-hmm.
But you just saw his game started to flourish, and that really helped his game and our game. And but we still need the pieces around us, and it never happened. So uh, uh, it was tough. And I you know a lot, I know you want to ask me a question, but I won't get into it. I saw a chance to go to Miami Heat,
Mm.
95, 96. That when a trade right before the 95 trade deadline in February, I had a chance. I told Alonzo Mourning when we played him in Miami, yo man, I said, look, I get y'all to the playoffs.
Mm.
Then they came to Oakland, and I said, look, man, I tell them to trade for me. I get you to the playoffs. I knew what I could do. Okay, I was coming off the bench at the particular time. The team was going a different way. Uh, a lot of people thought I was finished, and I had when
I
I
was going to say that
I
I was
remember
going to
that.
say that because Adelman comes in and you're coming off the bench and it's crazy. I mean, and are you hearing all of that? I mean,
of
Tim
course,
Hardaway's best days are behind him.
of
Of
course,
course,
You
you
of
hear
see.
it.
Yeah.
course,
You hear
you
it.
hear it. You say you don't hear it. Yeah, you hear it. You read it, and it's all over the place. But I knew that I believed in myself. I knew what I could do. Only thing I had to do was go to a different team. You know, just like I'm just gonna say, uh, Clay Thompson. If you might have a different need to get different scenery. You know,
It
Yep.
helps.
it helps, and I needed different scenery. And they said that I, Pat Riley uh, helped me with my career. I think we helped each other with our careers. Because his was if he didn't make the playoffs in Miami that particular year, it was going to be doubters.
So let's perfect. Good you say that because I want to
Mm-hmm.
set up the beginning of Pat Riley's Heat tenure. It's going to come back to this Knicks Heat rivalry that we'll talk about a little bit later. But we have to understand, right? So the Heat are an expansion team. They joined the league in the late 80s. And for the first 6 or 7 years of their existence, they weren't any good. They squeaked into the playoffs a couple times. And Mickey Arison, who owns the Heat right now, he buys the team in 1995. So the year before you get there. And he makes it pretty clear early that he wants to run the show differently. He's the founder of the Carnival Cruise Line. He's going to start spending money. And where does he start? He looks at Pat Riley. He says, I need a guy to run the team. Pat Riley's still with the Knicks. He's trying to figure out his extension there. Pat Riley's asking for things like ownership of the team, 10-year deal. And the Knicks owner at the time says, we like what you've done here. You've turned around the franchise, but not going to give you ownership. So what does Pat Riley do? He gets connected to Mickey Arison, and he lays out those same set of demands. And Pat Riley asks for 10% ownership of the Heat now, another 10% of ownership paid out over time. He asked for $50 million. He asked the Heat to buy out his homes in New York and LA. He asked for a limo service for games. He asks for a $300 per diem. And one thing that I can't find the answer to, Tim Hardaway, and I don't know if this is Heat culture, if this is Heat culture G14 classification, if you're sworn, but I mean, the story is that Pat Riley got 20% of the Heat when he joined the team in 1995. The Heat today are worth $4 billion. We know that Pat Riley is one of the greatest coaches of all time. We know that he's one of the best basketball minds of all time. But does Pat Riley also own 20% of the Heat and maybe be sitting on $400 to $500 million right now?
Don't know about that, but I wouldn't put it past him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know specifically, but I wouldn't put it past him. A great business mind, not only a great business mind, great basketball mind on coaching side and GM and president side. But yeah, let me get to that. So Mickey Arison, first of all, his dad owned the team. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. His dad owned the team. Okay, he had the biggest piece of the team. Mickey Arison came in and bought out everybody else. So
including his dad,
no,
his dad stayed?
No, it was him and his dad's team. Okay, so it's Mickey and his dad's team. So he comes in, his dad is older. His dad said, you take over it. I don't care what you do, just go ahead and take over it. He goes in there and he tells not general management, the owners, some of the owners that had 2% here, 5% here. So if you put in $1 million, I'm going to give you $4 million. Bye-bye. That's it. Don't come back to me. That's all. So that's what he did with everybody. It was about 10 of them. And he went to each of them and gave them more money than what they deserved. But this is it. You can't, no tickets, no nothing. You have nothing to do with the Miami Heat ever again. And they understood that. Okay. He went to Pat. And Pat probably made all those offers, but he didn't get $300 a day. He got $500 a day per damn. All right. So he went, his demands was his demand. But you know what? You got to believe in somebody. As an owner, you have to believe in somebody. Just like Robert Kraft, he believed in Belichick. And for 24 years, he ran a Class A organization. Just like Pat Riley is doing now. So he made the right investment. Pat Riley, you always going to make some deals here, deals there. That's not going to pan out. But in the long run, it did pan out. Him trading for me, Walt Williams, Corbin, my man, I forget my man's name. Chris Gatlin. That was the right trade at that particular time. And when we got there, we had to make up 15 to 17 games just to get in the playoffs.
Yep.
That's tough.
And it was guys that came there that believed in themselves, and they needed another scenery. All of us needed another scenery. We got to another scenery, and we went and played basketball. We didn't care about practice. We just wanted to play basketball and be relevant again. And
how were the practices though, Tim?
But let me tell you this: if you're a basketball player, I mean, you just go in there and practice.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Facts.
It is what it is.
Facts.
What
you come here for?
Right. What you come here for? I asked Pat Riley. I said, "Why we practice for 2.5 hours?" He said, "How long is the game?" I said, okay. I didn't say nothing else. I
Facts.
didn't say nothing else. But you know what? Um, sometimes we did need to practice.
hmm
Sometimes he could have took it, easy on us in practice. Uh, but I see why we practice, because last 3 minutes of the basketball game,
Got
we
locked
had
in.
we had more gas when
Mhm,
everybody was on empty. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade none of that, all that experience in Miami. I wouldn't trade that for the world. I had a great time. Pat Riley is a great mind. Um, he understands basketball inside and out. He taught um, Eric Spoelstra that just got a
mhm.
great deal. God bless him. He worked hard for it. And he deserved all that money that he's getting right now. He was my film guy.
I was about to ask, was he in the film room
He
when
was
you were
he was
there?
our
Yeah.
film guy. I used to go down there and visit him and my man, they used to be his running mate. I forget his name, it was on my mind, but yeah, they was in the film. Yeah,
Fizdale?
Fizdale. They used to be in a dungeon,
Yep.
and I used to be down there, and I just go down there and talk to him. Man, it was a room. It wasn't no bigger than your closet. It
Fizz
had
told me about the
all
room.
that just just TVs, and it was hot as hell in there, hot as hell. And I'm telling you, man, I just walk. We used to have to open the door so I could just stand there and talk to him, so I wouldn't get hot and sweaty in there. But yeah,
Mhm,
that he learned from Pat. And he understood that it was going to be a change. Eric Spoelstra did, and he went on the bench, groomed D Wade to where D Wade is now, a Hall of Famer.
Mhm.
And that was because of Eric Spoelstra.
mhm.
It's a chain. I mean, it starts with Riley, then it goes to Spolstra, then it goes to Wade, and now it goes to Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
Uh,
Hey,
so you,
But let me tell you this. Getting back to the Heat culture, all right. Everybody think Heat culture started with Udonis Haslam. Love Udonis Haslam. Love D Wade and all that. The culture, Heat culture, started in 1995, 96 when we
tell it.
got there. All right. It
Tell it.
started with one guy. And I tell you this, it wasn't Alonzo Mourning. It wasn't Tim
Oh,
Hardaway. It was Keith Askins.
Keith
Keith, see, a lot of
Askins.
people don't know Keith Askins was one of the guys that got drafted when they first built the team. All right. And Pat Riley liked how he goes about his business at practice every day. It's his type of culture. All right. Everybody think it's Alonzo Mourning. No. Everybody think it's Tim Hardaway, PJ Brown. No. It's Keith Askins. And I say
Mhm.
that all day long. And I'm gonna tell you this: what he brought to that team, um, his tutelage, his professionalism, each and every day. His jersey should be in the rafters
mm.
because he's
Mhm.
been there since day one,
One.
and
Is he still with the
he's
is he still with the
still
team
with the
today?
team
Come with the
today.
bow tie. You
Yes,
see him in a little bow
yes,
tie and the
yes. He's
glasses.
still
He's
with
been
the
there.
team
Yep.
today, and he doesn't get enough credit. He
That's a
doesn't
good
get enough
call.
say, but
Mhm.
it started with him. How he carried on each and every day, practice hard each and every day. Talk to us, say, hey man, we're not going hard enough. We're not doing what we need to do to be a championship team. So we need to practice a little bit harder. He was a he was a small voice, but his voice carried.
Mhm.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
Heat culture is Keith Askins, and then if Zoe, myself, and then PJ, and it goes down. But it started in 95, 96
Mhm.
with him.
And then everybody else fell in line.
Everybody else fell in line.
Mhm.
So we got to get into the 1997 season. So you mentioned you get traded there 95, 96. You guys are like 4 or 5 games under 500. You end up +2 in the win column. You make the playoffs in Pat Riley's first year. Then that summer, I think Pat Riley releases like half the team. And it seems like he pretty much starts from scratch. He gets guys like PJ Brown. He gets guys like Bruce Bowen, Dan Marley.
Ike
And
Austin,
1996, Ike
Shout out
Vashawn
Ike
Austin,
Leonard,
Austin.
for
Yep.
Sean Leonard. We then we traded for
Mash.
Mashburn. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Pieces.
We had
You talked
pieces.
about it earlier. Getting
Yeah,
pieces
we had
around your
pieces.
core
Yep.
group. Now you get an opportunity. It feels like to get some pieces around you. You got
Yes,
your core group, a new identity down there in Miami with a nucleus who seems like they want to just be about hard work.
that's
Keith
it.
Askin sounds like he tired of losing. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? But he shows up every day. He
Yes,
knows he got some pieces.
yes.
And then Pat's mastermind is putting the pieces around the core thing, which leads to success at the end of the day. From what I remember, as
60,
if yeah,
61 wins.
Hmm.
By far the best season in Heat history at that point.
Hmm.
And I mean, we talk about, I mean, it's no secret that a lot of teams just fell victim to the Chicago Bulls of the world in the 90s, the Celtics in the 80s, the Lakers in the 80s. But I mean, this roster was stacked. You mentioned a guy like Jamal Mashburn. I would love to start there because you're already rolling. I think by the time you trade for him, you're what, like 40 and 15,
Yes.
amazing team. And so I want to talk about Jamal Mashburn. He gets added to the team at the trade deadline of the 1997 season. And we talk about Jamal Mashburn a lot. Hell of a player. I love hearing about his game because I think he's kind of a universally underrated player.
He is.
But we talked to Steven Jackson the other week, and he said Jamal Mashburn was a guy that retired early because he knew that his success in the NBA was just the beginning. Today, he's definitely one of the best entrepreneurs,
Yes.
businessmen, former athletes out there. What was Jamal Mashburn like as a player? And at that time, did you know that this guy was already kind of like surveying the field and thinking about who he was going to be after basketball?
Yes, we did.
mm,
You can hear him talk about stuff um, in a paper, in magazines. You can hear him saying, being on L and watching all these businessmen and all these entrepreneurs on the L where he used to go to school at. How he wanted to whenever he gets into the NBA because he knew he was going to NBA.
I mean, he's
Whenever
nice.
he was not. Yeah,
whenever he gets in the NBA, this is what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. So you knew that he was doing stuff. When he came to us, he had a car dealership in Kentucky. And yeah,
getting it.
yeah, he was getting it then. So
hmm
we knew about his off the court expertise in business, and but on the court, he came in, he worked hard, he did what he's supposed to do. At one particular time, we put him in a peculiar situation where I was hurt and another point guard was hurt, and he had to play point guard,
I
and
remember. Yeah,
that was kind of tough on him. That took away from his game a lot. But he went out there and he did what he's supposed to do, brought the ball up, like a Scottie Pippen would do. But at that,
mm,
he didn't want to do that. He wanted to catch on the wing, do his thing, and but we had Zoe, we had myself, we had different type of offenses that
hmm
that wouldn't let him um, um, get his
yeah.
offense on.
That thing got to go in there
Right,
in the '90s.
right,
Tim at least need
right,
to go in there one
right,
time,
right,
and then Zoe kick it
right,
out, and
right.
then you do what you need to do. But it
He was a guy that you had to go to him multiple times and let him do
hmm
his ISO and let him do his thing
get in a
and
rhythm.
get in the rhythm. That wasn't Pat Riley. That
Facts.
wasn't Pat Riley. You know,
Facts.
but what he did for us was great, and
Mhm.
and I commend him. And when he went to Charlotte, you could tell that he went to the All Star game. He was
Mhm.
their guy. He went. He was doing his thing, and he was unstoppable. And then we played him in the playoffs. We couldn't stop him. We couldn't
Maybe
stop him.
some of that, maybe some of that, what development that he had with you guys led to the success that he had in Charlotte. Because now he's more comfortable handling the ball. You know what I
He
mean?
always had
Bringing it
that.
up.
He always had
He
that.
did
He's
since
a no,
Kentucky was
no,
frying. He
no.
was one of my favorite players of all time. So
we
I
we
agree.
we just didn't do him right. That's all.
Right.
Mm.
That's it.
We didn't we with his skill set, what he
Mm-hmm.
was doing in Dallas and in
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't able to do there because that wasn't going to be what Pat Riley wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It's moving out the ball, coming around screens, setting screens, coming off this. No, he wanted to get it, jab step, take his time and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
times we did it, but you could tell that wasn't Pat's forte. So
Yeah, you got to come down off this floppy. We're gonna let you go and do that, but you're gonna come off this
right.
floppy and this cross screen, and then you can get to that jab series you want to do.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen with
Yeah,
Riles.
but that's why we had to get. That's how come I had to get it down the court fast because
Mm,
that takes a few minutes.
it does.
That takes
It
seconds
does.
off the 24-second shot clock. But
Facts.
but Sean Leonard, and Dan Marley,
Hmm.
our team was built to win a championship. But when we played against the Knicks, it was personal because the whole city.
Before we get to the Knicks, because that deserves a pause before that. You play the Magic in the first round,
Oh,
and there's a guy that shares your last name.
oh,
This was probably one of the last years before, unfortunately, injuries
yeah,
started to hamper him.
oh,
Shaq
Hmm.
is gone. He's probably able to do whatever he wants. And I'm sure for you, as what, a 6'1" guard, you might be looking around like, there's guys now like him that are playing my position and can do some of the things that I can do, but they
and
happen to
very
be
athletic.
6'6" and very athletic. Yeah, just talk to us about Penny Hardaway
Um,
and
um,
what you remember from that series.
so we let when he traded Mitch Richmond,
Hmm.
I'm like, damn, we get Penny Hardaway. I'm looking at Penny at Memphis. I'm like, damn, okay.
He cold.
Woo! We
Ooh,
gonna
he
be
cold.
we gonna be rolling. We gonna be
Hmm.
rolling. I can throw to him and let
Hmm.
him do all this shit and all this and all that. Oh man. And then and then he said, no, we're gonna trade and get Chris Webber. I was like, okay, that's cool too. That's
Hmm.
not bad either. So
Mm-mm.
we gonna be rolling in. But yeah, we played them in the first round, Miami Heat in Orlando. So we go up what 2-0. And
Hmm.
no, was it 2-0? Yeah, 2-0. Then we go up there, we win game 3. Man, I don't know what happened. I
Mm-mm.
don't know what happened. But oh my God, he turned into another person. And we couldn't stop him. He was making
Mm.
everything. I mean, turnaround jump shots, step backs.
The
Uh,
quarter turn
oh
step
yeah,
back,
the
the
yeah,
inside
yeah,
with the funny style
yeah, yeah,
inside
all
turn.
that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what happened, but yeah, we couldn't stop him, and fortunately, game 5, uh, we won.
Hmm.
That because that was first round, best 3 out of 5. So yeah, we won the first 2, and then they won the next 2. But yeah, we fortunately we won game 5 and went to that next series. But man, I'm gonna tell you this: I'm happy for Penny, well deserved. He's going to get into the Hall of Fame this year,
Hmm.
and if he did not get hurt, oh,
Mm.
like he said, we'll be talking about him and Michael getting MVPs or who the scoring leader, this and that, because he was just that good.
Hmm.
Run TMC was a movement, but could you imagine if we had the Hardaway brothers
Woo!
as well?
Ooh, we'd have been
Ooh!
here for it in the town. We'd have been here for it.
Ooh! Yes.
So the Knicks series, you started to talk about it, but I think it's important to understand that that was Pat Riley's former team. The Knicks actually sued the Heat for talking to Pat Riley while he was under contract,
Mickey
and
didn't
this was
care.
the
Mickey was
first of.
like, "Here, take that."
Hmm.
Yeah, come on,
Hmm.
bring us. So the series starts 1-1. Bring us into the plane ride and the bus ride to Madison Square Garden. Pat Riley's locker room speech going into Game 3 of the series is knotted up one apiece. You're in New
Oh.
York, like there's a lot of animosity there. I don't think anyone probably could have imagined like what that would have turned into. 4 straight years playing each other in the playoffs. I don't even know how many fights, but it's hard to keep track of it because there were so
Hmm.
many. But what do you remember just from that, like going into New York for Game 3? You're playing in the Garden, and your coach is seeing a lot of his old friends. Like, paint that picture as best as you can for
It's
us.
funny. I'm at Nike Town. Okay,
Mm.
an employee just started going off on me. And my dad is with me. We just walking around Nike Town, and my dad was like, "Yo, do you want me to get him right?" I said, "No, Dad, he's a fan and this and that. We could." He was like, he getting on my motherfucking nerves. It's like, Dad, let's keep walking, man. Let's keep walking. My dad is like, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna either you gonna say something or I'm gonna say something. I was like, all right. So I got the manager. This dude was going off. F y'all ain't shit. This and that, blah blah this, blah blah that, man, y'all and and they had to escort him out of Nike Town. And I'm like, wow, he is really serious about this series. And it started there. Then we get into the hotel. You hear grumblings, you hear people looking at us, like pointing at us and stuff like that. But yeah, we get to the garden. It's ooh. You talking about an atmosphere that's nasty. Oh my God. I didn't know things could be said to ball players that they was saying to us. You talking about guys, you talking about guys, them guys wouldn't be the stuff we heard, the guys today couldn't take that. We just played through it. We just played through it.
Right.
Okay. But Pat Riley told us doing right before he said, man, it's gonna be crazy out here. It's like Gotham City. If y'all ever seen Batman, this is like Gotham City. This is where it's gonna be. It's gonna be real nasty, grimy. You got to come out here and fight. That's the way it's going to be. You got to put. I mean, it's like it's gonna be like a street fight, and that's the way it was. That whole series was like a street fight because of Pat Riley leaving. It didn't have nothing to do with us. It didn't have nothing to do with Alonzo, Keith Askins, Tim Hardaway, PJ Brown, Ike Alston. None of us. Everything had to do with Pat Riley and Mickey Arison. But we took it. We went out there and played. We took his identity and went out there and played, and that's what we supposed to do.
I was going to mention that there's some legendary stories you hear about the league, about Riles and his pregame or postgame speeches, or if you have a comeback victory or you win games that you're not supposed to. I know he's been pretty intense. I've heard players tell me he dunked his head in a
Yeah, I was there.
I was going to ask you, were you on that team when
Yeah.
so
It was
that
in
was his
Phoenix.
thing, like
It was in Phoenix.
till the last breath, the till the last breath remark?
He didn't know the water was that cold.
I love it. I
So
love it.
so it was ice water. And so he put his head in there. He came up, he gasped for air, but he kept going. He was a trooper. He kept going, he kept talking. But his face just got red. And he ended the speech or whatever, and then went back to his the coach's room, and the trainer was right behind him. He was like, "How you doing, Ron?" He said, "Yeah, he had to get himself together, but he all right now."
I love it though. Not too many coaches put themselves in a vulnerable position like that to motivate men, talking that warrior Gotham City. We're gonna go out here and do that. But if I can't see that visually from you, it may or may not hit. That's a 50-50. But if you're going through that, you like, all right, I'm rolling now.
Another one, it was a top on the ice thing, the water, but the Gatorade, he didn't know it was ice and water in it. And he was real mad at us. And he picked it up and stumbled and threw it. He didn't know that it was water in it. And he was like, "Oh shit!" Oh, and he just threw it. We was like, "Are you all right?" Even though he was mad at us, we like, "Are you all right?" You got to talk to some people before you do some stuff, because you're not 12 or you're not 20. It was. I mean, but getting up for games, his motivational speeches and everything. I was different. I was always. I'm from Chicago.
Ready.
I'm already.
Baby.
I'm always ready. I ain't need no motivational speech. I want to go out there and kick your ass. I want to go out there and fuck you up. I want to get my teammates ready. But I will tell you this: with them speeches, it even got me more hyped. Even like I'm like, yeah, yo, let's go do this. But
Those speeches in an atmosphere
yes,
like New York, walking into Madison Square
yep,
Garden with the dude they hate the most of the time, and you already ready. I can't. I would have. I didn't have the
Probably
luxury. I wasn't a starter or a Hall of Famer, but I'd have been so geeked up. I'd have got 2, 3 fouls like right away.
right.
You know what
Hey,
I
that's
mean?
what
It's
you had to do. You had to calm yourself down. You had to calm
hmm
yourself down. You can't go in there. You get 2 or 3 fouls on you, then you messing up the chemistry of the team. We need you to go out
the
there and do what you do. You
hmm
just can't go out there
hmm
and just be gung ho and just mess up everything. We need for you to calm
facts.
down, block some shots here, take a charge here and there, shoot your shots and do what you're supposed to
See, that's why you need veterans like Tim Hardaway. You know what I mean?
do.
It's very important as a young player to let me tell y'all who haven't had the fortune of to play in the NBA. Veterans are everything. If I'd have had a Tim Hardaway in the locker room to stop me from doing the young player thing, they're like, hey, we don't need all that. We just need you to do A, B, and
Right.
C, and plus your ass is young anyway, so get in line. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
I know we digress. I'm going to get back to the New York Miami matchup, but that's why veterans and OGs are so important in young players' career because they bring a pointed perspective that's almost inarguable, and it just frees your mind of other shit you don't have to worry about because you're getting game from Tim Hardaway, who you've probably watched on a commercial. He had his poster up, so I want to go. We can go back into Miami, New York, but I just want fans to know that that's why we always talk about how important veterans is on the locker room. We talked about
Correct.
Keith Askins earlier. You know what I mean? What he
Mhm.
would have been able to do to C Webb if he was able, around.
Hmm.
And now we're seeing, you know what I mean, how and I ain't never played with Tim Hardaway, but he could immediately, hey, you need to block shots, set screen, take a charge, go sit your ass down, repeat. You know what I mean? So and
Exactly.
that's
Yep.
all you need sometimes. But I'll let you get back into it, Dylan.
No, that was great. And I think I mean, a lot of basketball commentary today, they just talk about the encore fit and, the plus minus. But I think the stuff that you hear about who's talking to who in the locker room, what are you doing off the court, I would think that
Mm-hmm.
stuff is equally, if not more
Oh,
important than all the encore
And
stuff.
let me
Back to the Knicks.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
get back to the Knicks, but I'm gonna say this: analytics has fucked up the game.
mm,
Okay, um, you're talking about plus minus. If you go back and look at Jordan's plus minus, you go back and look at Magic's plus minus, Larry Bird's plus minus. I guarantee you, they plus minuses wasn't like everybody want them to be.
mm-mm,
I tell you this,
mm-mm.
but they was winners. They was winners.
Hmm.
All right. They was champions. And Michael would tell you this, fuck all that analytics shit when he was playing. What counts is W's and L's. And at the end of the season, who wins the championship, who holding up that trophy. Guarantee you that. But they gonna do what they supposed to do, but it's about uh playing the game right. I see people, you got a shot right here at the free throw line, you're gonna step back 3 shots, 3 steps
Mm-hmm.
and shoot a three. That's not basketball, man. That's not basketball.
At all.
So yeah, go ahead.
I think it tells a part of the story, but it's a it's a fraction. Back to the Knicks Heat. Uh, Something happens in Game Five, and just from a younger person's perspective, it was amazing reading about this. In Game Five, Charlie Ward and PJ Brown get tangled up at the free throw line. It seems like kind of like a WWE move. PJ Brown flips Charlie Ward over. It results in a brawl. This is Game Five. You're down 3-1. You end up winning that game. And the NBA decides to suspend 5 Knicks players and 1 Heat player. You can't suspend all 5 players right away because then the Knicks wouldn't be eligible. You need to divide it up alphabetically so they could do the suspension. When you hear that news and you see guys like Patrick Ewing's going to be suspended for Game 6 and Larry Johnson's going to be suspended for Game 7 and Allen Houston, like you know was that a surprise? I think it's kind of funny when you look back at it and like PJ Brown
He said
was
no.
the one that flipped Charlie Ward, but then 5 Knicks players get suspended, and only 1 Heat player gets suspended. What I mean that had to have, and we'll get to your Game 7 performance, which suspensions aside was one of the best Game 7 performances in NBA history. But with those
Mm-hmm.
suspensions, like what is your initial reaction when you hear it? Is it like, yep, all right, they deserve it, or what happened there?
Before the season, it was a memo that the general managers had to come out and read from the NBA. If there's an altercation on the floor, who's ever on the bench cannot step out on the floor and help. All right. Then they reiterated 2 or 3 times during the season. Then they reiterated right before you go and play in the playoffs. Okay. I was the culprit in telling who went out on the floor. I shot the free throw. All right. We was down. Game was over with. PJ said that he undercut him. PJ, so I don't know who was right there. PJ was in the middle, and Charlie Ward, you know how they line up 3 and then 2 on the side. There was no sense of you to even try to box him out. The game was over with. Don't even box him out. Let it go. We wasn't gonna win. But he said, PJ said he tried to do a football move and undercut him and whatever, and PJ picked him up and threw him, and then they came out. None of our guys came out on the floor. All they guys came out on the floor. You got to read the memo or hear the memo. They didn't want to oblige by the memo. That wasn't our fault. That was their fault. So yeah, I told on them. It was me. I said the league, yeah, this guy came off the bench, that guy came off the bench, and this and that, and this and that. Hey, we gotta win, baby. We gotta win.
Yeah.
We gotta
What you
win.
mean? I'm telling
I'm
too,
telling.
OG. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can take it how you want to take it, but the memo said don't come on the floor.
You can't help it that y'all was disciplined and read the
Right.
memo, and yeah, from top to bottom, everybody was on the same page.
Exactly.
They didn't have it together over there,
They did
so
not
that's
have
part
it.
of professionalism. Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
It's happened. It's happened a few times. It happened with the Suns and the Spurs.
Yep.
Stoudemire got suspended.
Yep.
Got to read the fine print.
You got to read the fine print. Yes.
Yep. So then, so you win Game 6. Game 7 is in Miami, and
I'm gonna
this
tell you
sets
this.
up.
I'm gonna tell you this. Game 6. Ooh
Mm.
wee. It was funky up in there in the gardens.
Mm.
Oh my God. Ooh, you talking to? Ooh, I never heard it like that in the garden before. I couldn't. If me and you was talking in front of each other, I couldn't even hear you. I had to read your lips. That's how loud it was.
Yeah.
But it was a great atmosphere. We went in a great atmosphere and won. Zoe hit
And then you're going.
back then, you know, the 3-point was shorter. It
Yep.
it wasn't college, it was European 3-point. They experimented with that. And Zoe made a couple of threes right there. We was like, no, Zoe. He shot the ball. It's like, what y'all talking about? I can make that. We was like, okay.
Top of the key?
Yeah, top of the key.
Top of the key,
Right,
yeah, because he was
Yep.
money at 15 from top of the
But
key.
no,
So
but
if
it
he
was
could
a
just,
three. It was a three.
Yeah. But I remember he was top of the key. I
Yep.
remember Zoe from
Yep.
15 straight
Oh,
on
straight
was
it
money.
was
So
money.
if he,
So he was
so
a couple of feet back,
yeah,
just 2 feet back. He made
yep,
it. And we won that
yep.
game there. And then game 7 was game 7.
And he was
Well,
destroying.
I mean, you're not going to say it, but that's got to be one of the. I'm sure when you
Oh, no question.
see highlights of that, you probably still get the chills.
No question.
One of the just you hear. I mean, you hear people today talk about Steph Curry like taking over a game in 4 minutes and flipping a game on its head, but I mean, one after the other. I don't think you hit the rim that game. It was net. What do you most? I mean, what do you think about when you hear people talk about that, or you just do you sometimes daydream
I remember
during
that
the
game.
middle of the game?
I remember that game like it was yesterday. I don't remember. I remember me making shots, but I remember the timeout. Zoe had his 4th foul early in the 3rd quarter, and just the first time I ever seen Pat Riley not say a word in the timeout. He didn't say not one word. So I had to I said, you know what? And I looked down the bench, and everybody had a little not dazed, but they was puzzled. What we gonna do? You know,
Processing.
they didn't know what to do. I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I got it. You know, I just went back to what I know, what I can do. Back in the streets of Chicago, I'm just gonna take over like I normally take over, back in the summer league or whatever. This just gonna be a summer league game to me. And that's what it was. I went out there, started making shots after shots after shots. My teammates started following me, playing defense, rebound the ball. We was making everybody's making Sean, PJ, Mashburn. So I just took the lead and I said, hey, our leader, our leader on the bench is not saying anything. So I had to help the guys on the court, and I had to be the leader that I know I could be, and just take it to another level.
Confidence.
That's
That's that
all.
injection of confidence that you talked about earlier. With like what that's that coming out of shy.
Hmm.
Not really no time for no bullshit. We're
No,
gonna go out here and hoop. No feelings. If he might be a little shook, okay, I see what's going on here. I got this. But I know how. I can gather how to fix this. If I'm Tim Hardaway and I know what I can do with my skill set, like if that's what we on, okay, I'm gonna at least go out here and do this till y'all figure it out.
right,
And then when playing in the league, once you see your superstar going out of his body a little bit, it behooves you to set a better screen, to
right,
run a little faster up the court, to
right,
run back on defense,
right.
to make sure, you know what I mean, you ready if he needs an outlet or he needs
Yeah.
you to knock down a shot. So just speaking as a teammate and watching some of the people black out, from Kobe to Vince Carter's and all the people I played with, like when the star goes like that, you got to go with him. And it might not necessarily be points, but it could be rebounds, screens, energy, IQ, being in the right spot. So
Yeah,
that's the point. That's the perspective I can speak from as a role player.
yeah.
You know, when the the top notch Hall of Famer starts blacking out, everybody tends to rise, and the coach don't really even got to do nothing.
No, he
It
wasn't
ain't
doing
really
nothing.
about X and
No,
O's. We know the calls.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But and when you start doing that, you start seeing the Knicks. They was kind of like a deer in headlights. They
Mm-hmm.
eyes was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna stop this? He just playing by himself, basically, So and I was in this groove where, and I've been in grooves like that in practice, and Pappy like, damn. I'm like, yeah, I get in grooves like this, I get real quick, and I got
Mm-hmm.
in that groove real quick because I wanted to win. My whole objective was to go play at home in front of my family and friends in the Eastern Conference Finals against the
Mm-hmm.
Bulls. That's all I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do, and let it go from there. And yeah, that's that. Man, that's all I was thinking.
Well, you
You had
did
a
that.
very yeah.
You did that. The one problem is the Bulls were on 7 days rest. They had
Right.
played the Bullets and the Hawks in the previous 2 rounds. You had just basically went through a war with the New York Knicks.
No
7 games.
question.
You get one day off, and then you're off to Chicago. I'm curious, like, you win that game 7, you have the series of your life. You have one day off, which is probably a travel day, and then you got to play the Bulls. Physically it's impossible to prepare for a series and reset in one day, especially when it's one of the greatest teams of all time and probably the greatest player of all time. So you're excited to go back to Chicago, but what is that mindset like when you have the game of your life, and then you got to turn around in less than 48 hours and go to an even bigger stage against an even better
Mm-hmm.
team, and all that's happening in your home city in front of all your
I'm gonna
family?
tell you this: we had them. We had them
Mm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the first half. We had them. They didn't know what to do. We was picking
Mm-hmm.
and rolling their ass to death. Jordan, Scotty, they couldn't get over the pick. Harper couldn't get over the pick. We was going to the basket. I was making plays. I was getting people wide open. They was making shots. We had them. And what we did that they wanted us to do, because they could guard this better than they could guard our pick and roll, high pick and roll, we
Mm-hmm.
started going down low and started going to Zoe.
That's right up the alley.
That's right up the alley. That's right up the alley. We gonna trap Zoe. We gonna be long as
Mm-hmm.
fuck, and you gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
pass it out. And once we pass it out, if it gets deflected, we got 4 seconds. We got 3 seconds. All right. So that's we played into their hands. If we would have
Mm-hmm.
just stayed that game plan and then beat them that first game, and then come back and go to Zoe that second game. See, you got to
Mm-hmm.
be one step ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
gotta make them start guessing or second guessing themselves. Once
Mm-hmm.
because they knew what they had. They knew what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And they know PJ knows weaknesses too. And his teams traditionally do not do well with pick and roll teams.
Exactly.
With teams, yep.
We was up or we was down one. I had a guy on the team tell me, man, Jordan in the locker room cussing people out, cussing Phil out. What we gonna do? Pick and rolls. We got to change
Mm-hmm.
this up, change that up, and then we play right into their hands. I'm not saying that excuse me, you can't go to Zoe. I'm just saying you can't play in their hands. That was what they wanted to see. That's what they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do. And they had that lined up. The pick and roll, they was all confused. So
Always.
they was all confused. But see, like John Stockton, you gotta have somebody else run a pick and roll. You gotta have somebody else come and is a threat to go to the hole and make something at the rim. They knew that John
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gonna shoot at the rim. All right. They knew that I was. So they had to collapse and I get out to people and make plays.
Mm-hmm.
And now if they know your game plan and they know what you're doing,
It's over.
it's over with. But if they
And he good at that.
he good at
He
that.
good at that, man. He good at once
What?
you got to make him adjust.
Right.
Once he feels like you trying to pre-adjust, oh, got you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he goes off schedule, got Michael Jordan figuring out, well, this ain't in the game plan. This ain't what we talked about. You know what I mean? We can't
Right.
he ain't even sometimes Tim wasn't even probably getting the pick and rolls. He was just getting motion and getting into action.
Right.
Like that I have him nervous.
Right.
Now he talking to the assistants, he talking
Right.
to Mike and Scotty. Scotty, I need you to do the thing,
Right.
man. You know,
Right.
do the Scotty Pippen thing.
Right.
But if you just try to adjust or like, nah, we're gonna play our game. That's what he waits for you
Right.
on. Nah, we're gonna play our game and yada. Nah. That's what he's counting on.
Exactly.
That's his little Zen master, his years of experience of
Yep.
basketball game. So I just want I played for PJ. I know we suffered in the pick and roll. I know he was inviting that ball to go down into the
Yes.
post
Yes.
during them
He
times.
loves that.
So you know what I mean?
Yep.
What was your relationship with Mike like? Because you said you used to play pickup with him. Obviously, you're from Chicago. He's Mr. Chicago Bull. What's your relationship like with MJ? Are you talking to him? Does he talk to you? Are you not talking to him? Paint that picture for us.
I see him during the summer. We play pickup game. We hang out, we kick it, play ball against one another, and work out and stuff like that with Tim Grover. But other than that, during the season, no, it was no relationship or nothing like that. I see him during the summer, and that was about it. But a lot of people, I know he's a cool guy. He always been cool with me. I always hear cool things about him. I always hear cool things from his teammates that how he took care of them and made sure they was right with whatever they needed, advice on whatever. So yeah, he's A1 guy to me.
Well, we appreciate your time. I know it's gone a little bit over. We're going to get out of here quickly.
Let
But
me
last
say this.
question.
Let me say this before
Yeah.
we get out.
Please.
I'm gonna say this. A lot of people think Allen Iverson and myself are like bumping heads.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you see the video that came out
That's
yesterday?
going
Yeah, I
on
saw
right
that.
now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I watched
Me-
it. They made it seem like it was like a deep seated hatred.
Yeah,
But
it's not.
like I would
It's
love.
not. Me and Allen Iverson have love for one another.
Of course.
We had love for one another ever since day one.
Of course.
I'm gonna tell you this. We talk about crossovers and who had the better crossover and who's best in this. Now I'm gonna tell you this. We both in the Hall of Fame. We both had great careers in the NBA. We was chasing after that ring. We both didn't get the ring. He's right. He should be in Philadelphia 76ers some form of way as something in their organization. I think Allen Iverson in his later years with Detroit and with Denver got a bad rap.
I was there for one of those years in Denver for partially a year. He definitely did. He didn't age gracefully
Right.
into the night like they wanted to, but when you put a person on such a big pedestal, culturally and figuratively, just considered in the NBA, you know what I mean? You would think there's been players who have allowed to gracefully transition
Right.
out of the limelight while still maintaining a starting position.
Right. He should have been one of them.
You know,
He should have been
Yes,
one of them.
exactly.
And I'm gonna tell you this:
Exactly.
Larry Brown, one of the greatest coaches in basketball history, understood what he needed to do with Allen Iverson and how he needed to
Mhm.
play Allen Iverson. Other coaches didn't know how to.
Mhm.
So that shows you how brilliant Larry Brown mind was and his basketball mind was. So
Mhm.
I always got nothing but love for Allen Iverson, and this stigma that we hate each other or I dislike him or we talk about the crossover and this and that. Um, People need to get that out of their head. I don't dislike Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson don't dislike me. We are good friends. We got nothing but love for one another. And I wish people would stop thinking that I hate him or he hates me. It's
Mhm.
not like that at all.
Thank you for saying that. I think it's kind of a culture today. Everybody wants to anoint one person the king of one move or one player the greatest, but I think the crossover, like many things in basketball, has a storied history, and you are both a key part of that. It doesn't matter, there's not one person that has to
Who
be
owns it?
Right,
the
Yeah.
right,
who owns the
right,
crossover. Everybody does it from
right. And
grade school
and
now to
and,
the
and, and
NBA, and
and what kills me is that ESPN, when they put the greatest crossovers on there, they don't put me on there because of what happened when I
Ridiculous.
was working with ESPN way back in 2005.
mm,
They still try to get back at me, and I laugh at them. That's why I don't do
Mhm.
nothing for ESPN anymore because they don't want me be on none of they don't even my son to be the highest score on Dallas Mavericks. All right, they won't even put his name up there. They won't even show a highlight of him on ESPN.
Oh, because of you
Right.
thinking they don't want
Yeah.
to see that name
Yeah.
on the
Right.
ticker.
Yeah. All that. So they
damn.
and it disgusts me. And they always say that, this is Disney, Walt Disney, you're supposed to forgive and forget. They haven't never forgive or forgotten me. So yeah. So I just want to put that out there too. And I'm glad Pat McAfee is on them about what's
Mhm.
going on with that because they are wrong.
I have one last thing for Iverson, and I was watching highlights, and if you remember, maybe it was the first time you matched up against him, you had him ISO'd on the right wing,
In front
and
of their bench.
you were setting up the two step, and I know that you knew that he thought you were going to try and cross him over as a statement, and you went through the legs, and
I went
then
left.
you stayed left. So you knew that
See,
he thought you were going to try and cross him
and
over.
that's another thing with us back then. See, we understood how to um, play games with people that was
Mhm.
sticking of us.
Mhm.
If you think
Mhm.
I'm going to do this move, no, I'm just going to go straight ahead. I knew what
Mhm.
he thought because this was at the end of the game. This is for game time. And a lot of people didn't know for game time, I put it between my legs or I had it in my left hand and I go left and I step back and shoot a step back jump shot. All right. Or I put it between my legs and go left because I know you want me to cross over and come back right. So I kept it in my left hand and went all the way and laid it in. See,
Mhm.
I this is the way we grow. We try to outguess you, outguessing
Mm.
us. So when I saw him um um hedge up on me, I was like, oh, I got him. I'm going left. It was wide open.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, we play games with each other. We laugh. He shot it in my face. We laugh. He takes me to the hole. We laugh. I take him down low. He said he'll be like, "Oh, you're not gonna take me down low. We're gonna double team you." I'm like, "Well, you're gonna have to
Mhm.
double team me." So it was all fun and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I had fun playing with him, man. Competitor to competitor, you have fun playing with him and or against a competitor and enjoy yourself. So yeah, I remember that move like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the small dudes. I feel like there aren't too many guys that were 6'1" that were
Come
able to
on.
do what
First of
people
You
all,
like
had to
you and
have a
Allen Iverson.
crossover. You had to have a
But
crossover
but
to
also,
a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. In Chicago, you have to have a move. Back then, you had to have a move because it was a lot of hand checking. A lot of
it's
hand checking.
Chi-Town is known for
Yeah,
defense, you know what I
defense. I
mean?
mean,
Yeah.
so like Isaiah Thomas said, the West Side had defense, the South Side had offense. I was on the South Side. I knew how to play
Yeah.
defense, but it was all offense. You know, I just wanted to
Facts.
get my stuff off. So, and then when we played against them, they had to show who was a better defense, and we had to show them that we had good offense. So yeah, I mean, so that's the way it was. And I practiced and dribble all the time, man. That was my forte. And I love just going out there and just playing and competing each and every night.
That's a great way to close it. We really appreciate your time, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to somebody like you who paved the way and did things that so few players in sports history were able to do. So we really appreciate your time. This was great, and hope to
I
work with you again sometime.
Yeah, yeah, I
I want
appreciate
to
it.
add.
Go ahead.
I want to add one thing, man, to the youngsters out there listening to Forgotten Seasons. You know, when we talk about Tim Hardaway's cultural relevance, go back and look at them Nike commercials for the Air Raid. He was part of the Spike Lee campaigns. He was a member of the Fun Police.
Yeah.
He's got classic lines like "I got
Yes, I
skills."
got
You know
skills.
what I mean? I got skills in class, and
Yeah.
these are all things from my 12-year-old, 13-year-old mind. I had an opportunity to play in the NBA and bump against legends like, Tim Hardaway and everybody that I had on my wall. And you got to remember, when you coming up in the 90s, it wasn't a position thing. Like, I knew I was tall and supposed to play like David Robinson, but I wanted to do that. I wanted the UTEP two-step, you know what I mean? I wanted the big dudes want Allen. I want to move like Penny. So I just want to, I just want to really put an emphasis on younger players, fans of basketball, to really go back and look at Tim Hardaway's contributions to the game on and off the court, and you'll understand Allen Iverson's, the Vince Carters, and how the NBA got into the hip hop, and how Michael Jordan showed us, a little bit, but, without the Tim Hardaways of the world, Run TMCs, and the cultural things that happen, we don't really start to learn just how black the NBA is for real, for real. We had an idea. Magic came in with a suit. Mike came in with a suit. You know what I mean? Tim Hardaway started showing up in commercials and stuff with cutoffs and a chain here, and he was wearing his sweats a little differently, and he was talking like, I got uncles from Chi-Town. He sounded like my uncle from Chi-Town, but he was out, you know what I mean? But he
Right.
was out there killing. So
Right.
my hat's off to you, OG.
Thank you,
This has
man.
been an absolute pleasure as
Appreciate
a
it.
fan,
Thank
as a member of the association. We're doing a lot content-wise. If you don't want to do nothing on the ESPN slate, but you still want to have a voice, we would love to have you, contributing somehow. And as a member of the association, and as a fan and a historian of basketball, we just want to give you your flowers, and we really appreciate your time. And like I said, for fans, if you don't know about Tim Hardaway, Google him.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you all, and thank you for having me. And hey, man, just let me know. I'm in. Just let me know.
For sure. For sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.